Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an edition of How Did This Get Booked? I, of course, am your host, Jake Manning, and I'm a veteran of the professional wrestling business for over a decade, and I've held every single job except selling popcorn. I'm joined, as always, by my tag team partner, my WrestleCon survival buddy, Zane Riley. Zane, how are you doing after we just survived WrestleCon week? WrestleMania just has a weekend. WrestleCon has a week.
Oh, I'm so glad it's over.
Yes, it was
never
over.
been more happy to be home.
Oh, it was rough. It was awful. It was long. Although I don't think it was as bad as Orlando was.
No, as far as the cons have gone, this has probably been one of the better ones. And I hate New Orleans. And it was more palpable this go round.
Yeah, I feel like Orlando, a lot of us reached a breaking point in our human soul.
Yeah,
I saw some people that I was like, ooh, I don't think that person's ever going to come back.
They're not coming back from that.
No, they've got emotional scars that they're going to carry around for the rest of their lives.
Well into this WrestleCon.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. There was definitely some damage, and there was some people that were like walking around like abused puppies. So you can't wear you can't be a man and wear an all black jacket in front of certain people, like certain dogs.
You can't grow beards in front of them. They start to bark
Because their abuser had a beard. Or a mustache.
Or maybe a soulless bald ginger.
Yeah, either or.
It could be a lot of things.
A lot of things that could cause abuse, but I think we got through this one a little bit.
My favorite was the new guys that came on thinking this was going to be easy, and then watching that light in their eyes just dim away into nothing. That was the best part, when they realized, oh no, I am in over my head.
Oh no.
And have nowhere to go.
Oh, I have to tear down this building as soon as this show is over, which is not ending anytime soon.
It's 2:30 in the morning and this is still going.
This is still going, and we have to tear this all down, and we have to be up at 7 a.m.
So thank you, Tommy Dreamer.
Well, Tommy got as close as he could. Let's not put it all on
Yeah, 2:30, barely scratched it. Maximum effort.
He did say 1 a.m., so, I would have rather him just been like, it's going to go till 3 a.m., and then if it ended to go to be 2:30, okay, all right.
He made it.
He made it. But, we survived. We got through it. It was what it was. It's available on the network, especially our 10-person tag.
Which I watched and love it.
I like it. I
thought it was great.
Yeah. Despite
certain naysayers could go suck one.
Exactly, which I've had a lot more people come up and tell me how good it was.
Yeah, exactly.
I've only had one person that was very ho-hum about it. And,
were they in it?
I believe they were.
All right then.
There might have been a couple other people on the fence, but one person personally thanked me.
No.
So, gone out of their way to do so.
Well, great.
But we have that, and of course Pancakes and Pile Drivers for me, and then of course Caleb Connolly did all kinds of stuff.
Just, because he's over.
Yeah, he's over, and and we're on a downward spiral.
Yeah, here we are.
It's okay. Us and Colt Cabana, just on a downward spiral in professional wrestling.
I watched WrestleMania with him, and he fell asleep on a chair.
Well, listen, I about fell asleep on a chair. Yeah. His chair was comfy, so he had a right to.
He was wearing a robe, so yeah. You were there.
He was wearing a robe. He was in a nice, comfy chair. I was in an uncomfortable chair.
Yep,
I had to get
was
up
in
a
the
couple
same
times,
chair.
Tried to stretch out a little bit. So that's part of the reason why I didn't fall asleep. That, and plus I actually bought a rare bottles of Maker's Mark.
Oh yeah.
Or Marker's Maker.
Maker's Mark.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry, they're not sponsoring us. It doesn't matter if
you
doesn't
matter.
Not.
Yeah, we can.
Probably better if you didn't get it right, so they couldn't get the push that we bring to the table.
I was gonna say, because I was gonna get Evans Williams.
They're not sponsoring us either.
They're not sponsoring us either. I was gonna get that, but I'm like, no. When Daddy drinks, he gets something good.
Yeah. So you got to spend a couple extra dollar hairs.
Yeah, break off some wax.
That is dated. So what are we doing today, Jake?
Well, today we are actually discussing...
As you notice, there's no other voice coming in. This is not the longest you and me intro ever.
Yeah, exactly. That would be real funny if we had
Yeah, and by the way... Here's normal Dennis. Yeah. All right, now back to us, Jake. Hi! And then we're back in.
But no, today we are discussing the Andre the Giant documentary. It just came out last night. I feel when I saw it advertised for it coming out, basically as soon as we got back from WrestleCon, I'm like, ooh, this would be kind of pushing it, but we do need an episode, because I would have liked to have gotten ahead, but I feel like this is very timely.
Yeah.
I feel like probably in the next day or two, people who are normal friends will be like, "Hey, did you see that Andre the Giant documentary? What'd you think about it?" And then now we can just say,
"Awful, hated it."
Well, now we can say, just subscribe to our podcast, and we talk about it for an hour or 50 minutes or however long we're going to do this.
Man, hopefully not that long.
Oh, hopefully not. We got things to do. You have no idea what I have to do.
You've got everything to do.
I do.
I just bought a Dungeons & Dragons starter pack, so I'm trying to figure out how to play Dungeons & Dragons today. You're going to do adult shit.
Yeah, I'm going to play World of Warcraft.
There you go. I got
some
I got my hands in other honey pots.
I got all kinds of stuff. But let's just go ahead and dive right into the discussion of this. It is, like I said, the Andre the Giant documentary from HBO Sports. It's also an affiliation. This is actually part of the deal that Bill Simmons has with HBO. Bill Simmons, of course, formerly of ESPN, from his successful podcast. He actually had the Bill Simmons Show on HBO for a short period of time, which is basically his podcast in video format, and that did not go very well. Part of the reason I didn't know most of the information about Bill Simmons being affiliated with this because he was on Mark Maron this past Monday. He was talking about it, and he actually talked about how... because Bill Simmons also had a hand in 30 for 30 in creating that whole series. And he said that Andre the Giant was on a list of things he wanted for a 30 for 30. So we got the Ric Flair 30 for 30 before we ever got the Andre the Giant documentary. And but he also said in the first season of 30 for 30, WWE wasn't quite as open with letting stuff out. So now the landscape has changed.
Now they want to let everything out as far as this goes.
Well, now that Vince is more worried about starting the XFL again, and Triple H and Stephanie Moore are in charge, they're a little bit more open to putting WWE content on HBO. Which, why the fuck?
Why wouldn't you?
So, but... yeah, Bill Simmons talked very highly of the documentary, or at least tried to, but Mark Maron was like, "Yeah, I'm on a wrestling show." Like, anytime, "Hey, I'm on a wrestling show." Yes,
you know Colt Cabana?
I was waiting for him to name drop CM Punk or Colt Cabana, but he was too busy dropping Glow, which okay. And we are anticipating the second season, which might end up being a podcast. We might watch
it might be. We're running low, kid.
Yeah, we did all these really awful wrestling shows early on when we didn't figure out what we were doing with this podcast. So now we've kind of...
now we got to take an artistic walk.
Yeah, exactly. We have to redefine what this podcast is. But let's talk about this documentary.
Let us.
Actually, I was a little disappointed, and I don't think I saw any of it in there. But when this thing was getting put together, highspots.com was contacted if we had any footage from Andre the Giant, which we did. We had some, I believe, 8mm. Yeah, I think it was 8mm footage. I think it was 8mm reels that I actually repossessed from a man.
I remember that.
Yes, it's quite the story. It's not out anywhere else, and nobody's ever going to put me in a shooting review. So I might as well share that story now because this
fuck
is fuck it. Why not? This is our podcast.
This is
our podcast.
Yeah.
Basically, there's this wonderful man named Mike Gratchner. He actually ran Bob Backlund's fan club back in the 70s. He was a photographer, a very, very nice man. I've met him multiple times, but also too, he had this contraption rigged up with his still camera where he could set it up and also capture video because he was allowed to capture still pictures but not video, but he rigged up a contraption that just looked like a really fancy camera, and he was basically
bootlegging shit,
kind of a little bit, but that kind of turned around on him, the bootlegging of this footage, because he had all this 8mm footage like from the 70s, from the Checker Dome in St. Louis, some AWA shows in Minneapolis and Chicago, even Madison Square Garden stuff, random shows in Tennessee and Illinois, and Dick the Bruiser, Andre the Giant, Nick Bockwinkel, Harley Race, Terry Funk, Dick Murdoch, like all the best of the best in the 70s. Had some NWA title matches, great stuff with Ric Flair, just a whole bunch of stuff. And he wanted some of it digitized and converted over to DVDs at some point in time in the early 2000s, and maybe even in the late 90s. And he gave a bunch of it to this guy to convert for him. Well, what that guy ended up doing was bootlegging some of it, selling VHS tapes.
Bootlegging a bootlegger?
Yeah, bootlegging a bootlegger, and refused to give back the footage.
So Stone Cold Jake had to go there?
Well, and that's the thing. And Gratchner even paid this guy, like, I need you to convert this. And this guy never converted it. And he just had all of it in a Tupperware container and was moving it around. Well, when we got in contact with Mr. Gratchner and he talked about all the things that he had, he said, well, I don't really have a lot of this. And he told us the story of what happened to him. And he had a last known address on this gentleman, and I was supposed to go pick up whatever he had available, and it wasn't that much. And I was like, well, why don't I just go see if I can knock on this door and see if this guy is actually here. And one thing that I learned very early in my High Spots career from Randall Brown, who used to make our wrestling rings, who actually repossessed a wrestling ring.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, multiple times, actually a couple of times. And to be able to repossess a wrestling ring, like, it's one thing to repossess a car and just get a tow truck and then move it, or repossess something and steal it from them when they're not looking, it is one thing. But to repossess something that weighs a ton, that's impressive. So I learned very early, if you're going to like shake somebody down for something, you show up in the middle of the night. So I show up at probably 10 o'clock at night in kind of snowy, awful weather. The time where you least expect somebody to knock on your trailer door. That's what I did.
Who came rapping at my trailer door?
Yes, so I went knocking on this person's trailer door. He sent his wife to the door.
Good man.
And I collected this Tupperware container full of classic wrestling footage that actually made its way into the Iron Sheik documentary. I saw a couple clips that might have been our clips, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I feel like a piece
would it have been like Andre and Bockwinkel when they were talking about the Battle Royals? And
it was in that montage in the beginning.
Okay.
It looked like there was like something against like Dick the Bruiser.
Okay.
Or so there was like an Irish whip thing. Like, I think that's our footage, but just really pushed in. So, I felt like I did a good thing by repossessing some wrestling history. So, so there's a couple frames of something that wouldn't have existed if I didn't go knocking on somebody's door in the middle of the night.
Or a man would send his wife to the door.
Mm-hmm.
A guy looked like you.
Also, too, I put like two hooded sweatshirts on, and then my leather jacket, so I looked like a bigger person than I actually was. I know all the tricks of the trade.
Got it.
So
if Randall taught you nothing,
taught me nothing. How to intimidate people to get what you want.
Intimidation plus 10.
But the whole documentary starts off in France and starting to talk about the very early age Andre the Giant, and they were showing like clips of him as a 19, 20-year-old skinny Andre, and he was just wrestling somebody who I thought was like a kid.
Yeah. No.
But then because you don't have any context of how big the ring is or how big the shot is, I'm like, oh, he's just wrestling a guy who's 112 pounds right now. But then you have an interviewer stand next to him, and he's talking about being 300 pounds. I'm like, no, that was an average sized man.
That's a real boy.
That had him on his had a man on his shoulders and just chucked him across the ring. And of course there was a shot where he puts you could see the huge hands, but he was still skinny, so it's like, those dogs, like those big paws. Like, whoa,
he's called the dopey dog. He could be a big boy, normal sized baby though.
Yeah,
real weird. But I guess I don't know what I thought. Like, I guess a 4'2" person just popped out of a vagina. Maybe, I don't know how babies work.
Of course not.
A big ass stork had to drop this son of a bitch off.
So you still believe in the stork theory? That's what you're still going with?
That's what the good Lord told me.
Okay. That would explain why you never pull out.
I don't know no storks. I gotta worry about it.
Yeah, that's what you say when she's like, are you going to pull out? And be like, I don't know no storks. Bite him! Ah!
Gotcha, bitch! Go! Run! Jake, start the car! My name is Caleb!
Conley. Speaking of names that are different, Jean Ferry.
Yeah.
Was Andre's original. And this thing I've seen Jean Ferry on like matchless things. I'm like, who the fuck's this guy?
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this guy? Also, like, I guess John Ferry is just basically like lumberjack. Like, it's the French version of Paul Bunyan. I'm guessing. Like, that's kind of what that is. But yeah, I saw Jean Ferry on like a bunch of match listings, and I've always passed over it. So I'm like, probably missed out on.
Don't want to see this shit match.
Yeah, so I probably missed out on a whole bunch of opportunities to see Andre the Giant.
All sorts of things.
Maybe I found some footage and just threw in the trash.
Yeah, like
Jean Ferry.
Who cares about the French?
Guy, you can keep those Jean Ferry, 8mm reels. I don't need those.
Those will never be worth anything.
Never be worth anything. But what'd you feel about like just the early part of Andre, like this early section here?
I love that it was just off of he was going to be like a rugby player and a football player and had no other intention. They just happened to work out with some guys that got him into wrestling, and they were the only wrestlers in the world at that time that would have been like, yeah, let us teach you everything.
Yeah.
They're real forthcoming wrestlers.
Not necessarily the case.
There's never a thing.
Especially during the height of Andre's success was like, no, we have to keep people out.
Yeah.
Which is funny is that, there's that added... There had to be somebody early on in most of those guys' attitudes. All those guys that were like, no, you can't get involved in the business. Mm-hmm. Somebody had to be nice to you at some point in time to let you in.
This is where you're choosing to be a dick in life? Yeah. This is the point?
Yeah. When you kind of had somebody open the door for you, you were shutting the doors. But it's whatever. I don't know. But,
and I was also blown away what Skinny Andre looked like.
Yeah. So that's what I gleaned too. Like I said, I thought he was wrestling a child.
And to go a step further, I remember him at the very end. So how large, how he wasn't as fat there in the middle than he was at the end, like in his red trunks and blue boot days, like how he was proportionate to his size rather than just being fucking fat.
Yeah, like he's always was fairly proportionate, other than those big paws.
Man, those, Jesus,
they were always big.
Those fingernails look like pogs.
For those of you who know what pogs
I'm
are.
Also very dated.
Yes. Do people that listen to podcasts know what pogs are?
I think High Spot still sells the Undertaker pog set.
We do. We actually please buy those.
Please take it this other way. They take up a ton of space.
We need the room.
They take up an Andre the Giant size portion of space.
We tried to put them in our subscription box, and people just sent them back.
Yeah, everything else.
Yes.
They just sent a note that said this wasn't too sweet.
But I think that my favorite part of this whole documentary was the montage on territorial wrestling.
Yeah, that was real cool.
Because it does kind of tie into what we do here in that what are the normal people's perception of professional wrestling, especially that territorial-based wrestling, and showing clips of the Assassin and masked wrestlers doing these things, like just the idea of it, like how it was, this is what wrestling was in a smaller scale.
Yeah.
It wasn't put out there to make fun of it. That's just the way it is. That you just had a territory, and your territory was as big as your TV station reached out to.
Yeah, and it's weird to think you had your Hulk Hogan's back then. That there's a facet in the world that didn't know who Hulk Hogan was at a time of his one of his bigger parts of his career.
Yeah, I think they did a very good job of kind of explaining and explaining.
Very much so.
Yeah, more so than I'd say some of the WWE stuff.
But then I'm also curious, so if you only knew about your territory, did you believe that wrestling only occurred in your area?
That's true.
That's why I've never, these are the guys that know, and that's all the wrestlers there are in the world. They just all happen to live in the Minnesota area.
Well, that's a thing, too, because, obviously, we don't... This is a bad example.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we only know the Charlotte Hornets, and there's only their basketball team. But obviously, Miami Heat comes into place.
It fucks us all up.
Well, maybe in the sense that, we only think the NBA.
The only team I know that exists on its own level is, the Harlem Globetrotters. Yeah. So if you want to equate one of those teams, I don't assume there's more of that basketball in the world. Okay. I just assume it's only the Globetrotters and the 10 guys we get to play the Globetrotters on the day the Globetrotters play.
Yeah, or maybe a better example is you only know the NBA. And
I have no idea about ABA and...
that's the thing. Or you don't know about the ABA, but also you don't know about European
Lithuanian
leagues,
ball and shit like that.
And all that around the world. So I guess that would be the closest.
Kind of
Just or even football. Yeah. All we know is the NFL. But there might
there's Canadian leagues and all that other shit.
Yeah, there's probably some Spanish
and that fake football called soccer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there might be some Spanish football league somewhere that we know nothing about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd be interesting to talk about something. But of course, you have the magazines that are covering it nationally.
But at the time, there weren't magazines.
Yes.
So. Yeah. That's just weird to think that like there's those two things. Like people all over the world don't know who Hulk Hogan is, even though he was huge at the time. That he was just in one spot, and then people thinking that there's only that wrestling and no other wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but I think a lot of people take pride in their own areas that they did exist. But speaking of knowing something, what if Andre the Giant? Nicknamed the Polish Giant would have stuck as opposed to Andre.
It would have been a weird time. Well, I mean, it'd be like the Polish Hammer, and then the Polish Giant, and then we had the Polish Connection.
Yeah, then they'd just be a tag team forever.
Yeah, it'd just be a very tiny man and a very huge man just polishing it up.
Oh, I was thinking about this today. Because I was listening to James Bonding. Might as well plug other people's Might as well plug other people's podcasts.
I've been listening to Drunks and Dragons all day long.
And they were talking about Hervé Villachez, who is the knick-knack from The Man with the Golden Gun. He was also Tattoo from Fantasy Island, and he was French as well. Huh. And I kept thinking, like, God damn.
Like the best of friends?
What a fucking photo op it would have been for Hervé Villachez and Andre the Giant. Like, that...
But the obligatory what did it say? The tattoo with tattoo knick-knack having Andre the Giant in a headlock.
Oh god, that was so because Hervé Villachez he had complications because of his size as well. Obviously,
just the opposite.
The opposite, basically.
He had half a heart and half a set of teeth,
and also turned to alcohol.
Yeah,
because French and
so
that it just. God damn! Like I wonder if those paths ever crossed.
To look into that.
I'm gonna look into it. Like Hervé Villachez, Andre the Giant connection.
BFFs.
Yeah, I would love to know that.
Yeah.
Because they would have been alive at roughly the same time in the 70s, so they'd exist.
This could have happened. They're both French.
Yeah.
And France isn't that big. It's like the size of a quarter if you look at a map.
Yeah, don't you think that somebody would have had them on a talk show? Or to me, that's the first thing I think of.
Like the French Murray?
Yeah, or whatever, something. Like, these two, their paths had to have crossed.
Yeah.
So. But Andre finally gets his name from the promoter in Chicago, Andre the Giant, thank God.
Because Andre the Fairy didn't sound good.
Yeah, especially in Chicago.
Or Giant Fairy, that's what it was.
Yeah, Giant Fairy, especially in Chicago at that time, and still in this time. And
then they had the French guy say it. Giant Fairy. It's like, it sounds even worse when you say it, Frenchie.
His name is Giant Fairy.
Yeah, no, yep. Nope, I get it. I know why they set that place on fire. I'm woke, and I still don't like it.
But speaking of people who are not woke, Vince McMahon Sr.
Segues 101, guys. Take him if you got him.
Sometimes I work, sometimes I don't.
Hey,
you gotta keep trying.
Throw him. 100% of the shots don't take.
Exactly. They were talking about Vince McMahon Sr. and how he was basically who booked out Andre.
Yeah.
I don't think they make it as clear as they should, but he was basically the guy that controlled Andre's bookings and sent him here and sent him there, and they really did harp on the fact that he was like a circus attraction that you only see a couple of times.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be any place for too long.
Yeah.
Like they really
it's gonna fade out right away.
They really beat that drum a lot through this thing. And of course we have a first appearance of Hulk Hogan in his Beat Shop T-shirt doing promotion.
Everybody in this show is wearing their own shirts.
Yeah, it's true. Everybody's trying to get some promotion out of it, being typical pro wrestlers.
Mm-hmm. Being true to life pieces of shit, and
fucking of course Hulk talked about how Macho Man was not well liked by Andre the Giant.
This was my favorite part of the documentary, is where he talks about how much he didn't like, how he would act when he didn't like Macho and Big John Studd in the Sheik.
I heard a little bit about Macho, but I think this is getting played up a little bit higher because Hulk is telling the story.
Yeah.
Which, fuck, man. Like, Hulk Hogan, throughout this thing a couple of times, especially when we get to like this turning into the Hulk Hogan documentary.
Yeah.
For about 8 to 10 minutes, right in the middle.
It's like, I was there, man.
Yeah, Hulk just fucking talking massive shit and pumping up his legacy even higher than what it is, and it's just like, this is what fucking happens when we lose Roddy Piper, Ultimate Warrior, and Macho Man Randy Savage. Because we don't have anybody to fucking check Hulk Hogan. You can just let Hulkamania's world of lies run wild, brother. Like,
what's Billy Jack Haynes doing? Maybe he can hop on.
Billy Jack Haynes and Jesse the Body Ventura, we need you the most right now to fucking check this man. Like, as much as I dislike Roddy Piper telling the same stories over and over and over again, I appreciate it that he stood up and said, no, it wasn't Hulkamania that built WrestleMania 1. It was everybody wanted to see Roddy Piper get his ass kicked. Even though that's probably the most incorrect statement ever. But the fact that some man was saying, no, this tanned mustache fucking lobster is not correct.
He was so tan.
Yeah, he is not correct.
Oh, he's leather.
This is what happens when you just have nobody. This is what happens when you survive.
No filter.
When the people who could say the other side of the argument are dead. So this is maybe Miss Macho Man even more. Because he would fucking let him know. And then, of course, talk about Iron Sheik. And then the publicity stunts. Trying out
for the Redskins.
Also, too, I think I said on the last podcast that Andre would make a great talk show guest. I got to hunt down this David Letterman appearance. I'm sure that was amazing. And then he talked about we get a small appearance by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Which was real cool. It was a good story.
Yeah, good little
story. Put him up on top of an armoire.
But they just kind of put it in there because, we got this thing of Arnold, and this is the only thing we got out of it.
So Arnold wasn't really a big fan. He was just kind of around.
I mean, this seemed like a Michael Bakikio move. The owner of High Spots, like, listen, we paid Arnold Schwarzenegger money to come in here. We have to work him into this documentary somehow.
Find a place.
And then, of course, we start talking about some of his many vices and parts of his personality, most specifically women being attracted to him. And
not ever something I ever heard, but I love that Ric Flair talks about how big his fingers and feet were.
Ric Flair
gets it, brother.
Telling a dick joke.
Wearing his own shirt.
Have a little boy laugh. Yeah, you've had 27-foot fingers.
Yeah. Give me cold chills.
Oh, that's his heart. That's what you're feeling right there.
And he looks like shit.
Well, I mean, he did die. He was dead for a while. He came back.
I mean, I guess he goes through some shit.
He's a survivor, my friend.
Like Beyonce.
Speaking of Beyonce, we also talk about drinking 7,000 calories of alcohol a day.
Yep, that tracks. That's the one. That works. I like that one. That's good. Write that one down again.
Listen, sometimes these segues don't always work.
We don't have to. Yeah, that one I feel, though, did.
Yeah. But yeah, 7,000 calories.
Yeah.
Of alcohol a day. Zane, what are you up to?
Man, Brother, I can barely do like 500 calories these days.
Well, I mean, in one shot is like 300 calories.
Don't take too much for the party animal anymore. Party animal is just more like a couple drinks with dinner animal these days.
I have to work in the morning.
Yeah, I got bills to pay. Manimal is here.
But yeah, they talk about a case of one, and then we get into Tim White, who I love, like especially when he tells Andre stories about being his handler.
Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah, all that stuff. I love Tim White.
Yeah,
and I love.
He was definitely the best interview on this, I think.
Yeah, like he was a close personal friend, obviously, and was basically a guy that helped him out and was a true friend.
Yeah,
and I think that's what's awesome. And then we get into the humor of Andre, which is just basically
just farts.
A section about farts.
Yeah. He had a real big sense of humor, only related to toots.
Yeah, only related to him passing gas and almost crashing an airplane with it. Like, Zane, I've said this before many times.
Yeah, but every day.
I've said that when I die, don't ever do a 10-bell salute for me.
Of course not, never.
Because...
No memorial tournaments.
No memorial tournaments or shows or whatever, because I feel like that just brings down the whole mood of a pro wrestling show. And that's the last thing I've ever wanted to do, was make a pro wrestling show about me or bring anybody down. I want the show to be as good as possible, and I feel like 10-bell salutes, they're super redneck, they're trashy, they're classless. I hate them. I want nothing to do with a 10-bell salute for me in my death. And also, too, if somebody makes a documentary about me, please don't have an 8-minute section on farts. Now, Caleb Connolly... Oh,
that's... what else are we going to talk about?
That's pretty much going to be 30 minutes of his documentary.
That's going to be the documentary.
So... he's going to have to do a lot more to get past that reputation.
Dad wanted to tell him, Caleb, we need to do a little bit more work. Because if not, when you die and I got to do this documentary about you, all I'm going to talk about is farts.
Yeah.
That's all I got, kid.
It's the only defining characteristic about you that I can think of.
Your farts and your taste in women. Like, I just don't know what else to... don't know what to talk about here.
But speaking of North Carolina boys...
yeah, that's a good one. This works out.
That tracks right there. Ellaby, North Carolina.
No clue. I had no idea about any of this part.
You didn't know that he had a farm in North Carolina?
Did not.
Now, George South, one time I took a road trip with him. Oh, gosh, what was it? I think it's down 74.
Okay.
If you go further down 74. And they might have did some road construction, so you might not go on this specific road anymore. But I remember going down 74 with George South, and he goes, "Oh, Andre's farm is just down this road." And I'm going to have to take a look at the map and make sure that's the case. Because it's just like this little, like V intersection where this kind of one road veers off. And like I said, I think they did some road construction, so you won't actually see the road anymore. But you may be able to. But it's just off of 74, just outside of Charlotte. It's a ways outside of Charlotte. If everything that George South has told me is correct.
I have no idea.
Should have looked this up on a map before I started talking about it. But I remember him saying that it's just like, oh, it's just over there. But it just kind of takes you in the middle of nowhere, just outside of Charlotte. So
I mean, that town looked like it was just like that cross section.
Yeah,
and then a farm.
Which, like I said, it had been a small town. Like, yeah, sure, I'm sure the first couple days that he's there, but then all of a sudden once you're there, it's like, fuck it.
Whatever, who cares?
Fucking.
I got more important things, like the bank foreclosing on my farm.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Exactly. I gotta keep this body shop open. In this town of 500 people. Yeah. Like, I'm going to start walking around with a sledgehammer drum up some business.
Breaking shit so I can get them to come in.
Andre, can you just get drunk and fall in some people's cars, please?
So work out a real good business plan with you. Gospel balls.
Roast balls. I got the agro-nuclear. Which is where we're at right now, where we learn about giantism.
Yeah.
Acromegalia.
It's crazy that he went his entire life without going to the doctors until he broke his ankle.
Yeah.
They're like, I've never been to a hospital. I've been to a doctor a couple times. I had to get blood work.
Yeah.
My dick's clean. I work in Louisiana. But it's weird to think of someone his size never thinking to go to the doctor because it might be a bit peculiar. Very weird.
Yeah,
If you're just a normal Joe Blow dude and you don't get fucked up or too sick, you're not going to the doctor is an understandable thing. Yeah. But if you're 7.5 feet fucking tall and weigh almost 500 pounds.
Doing a combat sport.
Yes.
Do you think you would have at least gone for some stitches?
Something. Just physical.
Or like you said, like a physical athletic commission. Like just New York, like a doctor checking you out. Like, there's like, no, we'll just accept this guy as being a freak and move on.
Our blood pressure band doesn't even go around your arm, so fuck it.
You're good.
Yeah.
We know you have 2 hearts anyway, so you're fine.
You're 2 hearts. You might want to get a couple rows of those teeth checked out. That's not beside the point.
Yeah. Even though another one I said is even though you're a physical wonder, having 2 hearts, I'm not going to ask any questions or dig into it.
You're the 8th wonder of the world. Unfortunately, I only deal with the first 7.
Yeah.
So there's nothing I can do for you.
Above my pay grade.
That's right. So. You're just going out there. Do what you feel.
Do what you want. This is where we get to the death of the territories and Vince McMahon Jr. And I like how the graphic turned the entire country blue, which we know that Vince McMahon's political ideas.
Very red.
He would rather see the entire country turn red.
Guys, you don't mind if we switch that color, do you?
That's probably Vince McMahon's only note. Was like, can we just have the whole country turn red as opposed to blue? Like, I feel more comfortable.
Maybe a couple elephants running around. I don't know, just for posterity's sake.
Yeah, and like maybe some like bloody and broken donkeys like
in a trample path.
In a trample path on top of some elephants over this graphic explaining that I took over the country.
You get it right.
You get it. No. Oh, all right. I'm keep going. So.
You know, it's not that big of a deal. We'll come back to it.
We'll discuss it. And like I said, this is where it turns into the Hulk Hogan documentary for about 8 to 10 minutes. Jesse Ventura, I would have really loved for you to chime in and fucking save this whole situation.
They probably was on the documentary, but all they did was shit on Hogan, so like, I gotta take one of them out.
Oh, God.
Hey, Jesse, you ever been around Andre when he farted? No? Well, guess you're out.
No, but let me tell you why Hulk Hogan is a piece of shit.
Go on, we'll use this for something eventually.
Andre the Giant Fart? You mean Hulk Hogan?
Hey! He's not listening.
Yeah, he's not listening. He doesn't give a fuck about me anyway. So, I'm going to discuss this for a while, and then we get to The Princess Bride.
Which should be a happy moment, but this is where it starts to get sad.
Jesus,
Thanks, what was his name? Billy Crystal?
Mm-hmm. Oh, did you find it odd that Billy Crystal and like Rob Reiner were just like chilling together?
Just hanging out.
So, like, don't you think those interviews would have happened separate, but the fact that like, oh no, we'll just do it together.
You guys are the low point of this.
I mean, this is like...
I'm going to sit over here on this coffee table like I'm just kind of being out hanging cool.
It's almost like Billy Crystal just walked by and Rob's like, Billy, come here.
You were there. He's probably, I think Billy Crystal's probably his personal assistant these days. I don't think he's done anything since the Princess Bride.
Yeah, City Slicker.
Yeah, City Slickers 2, Hunt for Curly's Gold. You know, whatever. But, side note, though, 2 way better than 1. Not a big deal.
But they might have been contractually obligated.
Yeah.
Like Billy. I'm surprised Billy Crystal wasn't a producer on this because we know how Billy Crystal loves being on HBO.
Yeah.
So
those comic relief shows aren't really doing anything anymore, so he needs something.
Yeah. Like this is part of Bill Simmons' contract. This may also be part of Billy Crystal's contract.
Well, there's a Crystal Rider where if you do anything for HBO, Billy Crystal has to some way be a part of it.
Yeah, but you don't have to treat him very well. Like you can just throw him in an interview with Rob Reiner.
Billy Crystal has that Jimmy Hart contract where like no matter what money is made, Billy Crystal gets a couple dollars.
Yeah, like he got like whoever was running HBO very early on in their career. So like ever since then, he's contractually obligated to always have Billy Crystal on HBO. He
at least gets the first look.
At least.
Kind of like when Rambo saved that company.
Yeah, so let's just look. But yeah, you get everybody. You get Robin Wright, you get Carl Elways, I believe is his name. And yeah, I've never seen The Princess Bride before.
Yeah.
I don't want to because I now see how sad of a fucking movie it is.
I've never seen it with the volume up. I work at a hipster bar and we show black and white movies. And to watch whatever we want, we just make the DVD player black and white so we can watch anything. Mm-hmm. And when someone brought in The Princess Bride for the first time, I swear to God, every time I went to work, someone had it in the DVD player playing it. So I just saw a bunch of it. I've never seen it with sound. Mm-hmm. I was never a fan, I don't believe, I saw it when I was younger and didn't care for it. And still hasn't much changed.
I'd
rather watch Never Ending Story. Suck it.
Yeah. I mean, kind of didn't really even knew it existed until I got older, and I don't like fantasy. So. I was forced to watch the first 2 Lord of the Rings, and I still haven't watched the third because I have zero interest in it.
So I don't feel I need to tie that story up.
No, I don't, and I'm not dating that person anymore, so nobody's going to force me to fucking do that.
At knife point.
Yeah. So I'm not fucking interested in seeing the end of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You can go fucking jump in a lake.
You can go jump the Mountain of Mordor, motherfuckers, which is a reference.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't fucking know. Because fuck it. I'd rather watch the prequels again than watch the Lord of the Rings. Even the third one. Just the third one.
Just put it out there.
Just putting it out there. Fight me!
I'll see you outside. Catch me outside.
Yeah, super fucking sad, especially when they showed the clip of Andre the Giant talking about how they build things for blind people, deaf people, small people, crippled people, but not big people.
Yeah.
Oh!
This is where it starts to get real rough.
Fuck, and that this was scored very well.
And I like how it only seemed like the cast of the movie gave a shit about Andre's health, and all the wrestling people were like, But can you do WrestleMania 3?
Yeah! I never thought of that's true.
Yeah.
Like, all these actors are you okay? And they would do these wires to
help him out.
To help him out. But here he is getting body slammed by Hulk Hogan.
And then doing a program with him.
Yeah. Like, you're gonna coax him out. Mm-hmm. And also, too, like, the shitty thing with it, because we get into the WrestleMania 3 part, and talk about... Vince McMahon, I got right here, said the allure of Hogan got him through. Like, in the sense that was the thing keeping Andre alive. No. Fuck off. This is why we need Jesse Ventura.
Yeah.
Jesse Ventura.
Watch it, McMahon.
Like, the lure of wrestling Hulk Hogan was the only thing that kept him pushing him through. And then, of course, as you remember, we did the Piper's Pit last
We've
time.
had that on the show before.
A couple episodes ago. And then...
Well, I've been Brains Behind the Brawn.
Mm-hmm. And we talk about... and I love how they admitted, like, yeah, we just forgot all this history that these gentlemen had.
Yeah. Good. Which is funny, because I was at lunch with a buddy of mine today, and... spoiler alert if you haven't seen Raw after Mania. No, it would have been SmackDown after Mania. But they had Daniel Bryan wrestling AJ Styles... And they talked about how this has never been seen before in WWE ring ever. And then someone posted with the shot of them wrestling each other on Velocity in like 2006. So, yeah, we just forget about it ever happening. If it didn't happen today, it never happened.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we forget about history. Like, I just found out, I saw this meme today, and I don't know if this is true or not. And I would love to find out if it is. And I can't wait for it to be disproven if it is. But if it's true, great. That Cedric Alexander winning the Cruiserweight title was the first title victory by a black male at WrestleMania.
Well, I saw someone almost debunk it today, saying that Maven won the hardcore title at one of the WrestleManias, but he's only half black. And you know what? That's half enough for me.
Just like Obama was...
Ty goes the runner, motherfucker. Ty goes the runner.
Yeah, I thought that were like...
But it would be real fucking rad if it was true.
Yeah.
But I find it hard to believe that it is.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. So I thought it was very odd. So, whatever.
Hey, what ifs?
WWF's racist. Surprise.
Don't hurt my dick.
Surprise.
I mean, two Asian people won, or two Japanese specifically, won the Royal Rumbles. Both of them fucking lost at Mania.
Yeah. The surprise, WWE hates non-white people.
Non-whites.
And, yeah. And there's lies in wrestling. Yeah, and the internet's wrong sometimes. Yeah. So, surprise.
Either way.
This part is interesting to me because they talk about how big WrestleMania 3 is, but, like, I don't know if, like, some of the people who we've done interviews with at High Spots or interviews that I've seen from other companies who I won't mention right here, where they talk about WrestleMania 3. A lot of those people are like, oh, it was just another show. Like, we didn't get there early. It was just a big show. We knew it would be a big show. Mm-hmm. They're very ho-hum about it. Like, yeah, sure, it's WrestleMania and it's big.
We don't draw anybody. They're already here already.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're mostly thinking about, like, oh, how are we going to draw people next week in Poughkeepsie?
Yeah.
And okay, at least people are going to be here and we're going to get a good payoff.
But carry over.
We don't talk about it as being an event that's going to change wrestling history forever. Mm-hmm. You know, so I don't know who to believe. I knew, like, Steamboat and Savage knew it would be a big deal because I remember Ricky saying that like, hey, we knew there's going to be a lot of people here. Let's make sure we have a good match and we're going to have a lot of people see it.
Fax me what you want to do and then I'll remember it verbatim.
Which I didn't realize they had the whole thing written down. Me
either. That's the Steamboat Macho Man thing is the only thing I've ever heard that was done that way.
Yeah.
Did not, and then here's Hogan saying, "I wrote it all down, brother."
Yeah. So like.
Of course, who's gonna call bullshit on him? I don't know. Maybe he didn't.
That's the thing. Like, that's why we need Jesse Ventura to call bullshit on all this.
I don't buy it.
I don't buy it. I don't buy anything that comes out of that yellow and red mouth of this. I was a Navy SEAL. I went through the BUDS program. But yeah, like this is the first the time of him I've heard of him doing it, where he's writing down the whole thing, and then you just hand it to Andre. Like that's the only time that this has ever been mentioned like
ever.
this. And I don't know if that's because like Hulk like felt weird about putting that out there that he had his match written down.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if that was the case because I remember when it was like Macho Man like all the stories about Macho Man writing down everything in detail and fasting at the guys or having the guys come down and practice the match. Like everybody talk about how ridiculous it was. And old timers like, oh no, you just call in the ring, brother. When it's like, no, man, like some things are just very fucking important and shouldn't we be prepared for it as opposed to being a lazy fuck.
Yeah.
You know? So but yeah, maybe I lie, maybe not. But this is the first time I've ever heard of it, and if anything, it's that much more interesting. So if you want to tell this lie to make this part compelling, okay,
I'm in. I'm sold on that lie.
I'm back in.
I'll take that lie.
Okay, and they really, with the way this part is scored, it really makes WrestleMania 3 far more mythical than it already is.
Yeah,
like we always know that this was a big thing. This was like a passing of the torch, which is something that fucking Hulk Hogan barely fucking did. At any juncture of his career. Like, I guess you could say he kind of did with The Rock, but, maybe Goldberg, but he didn't do it for Sting, Hart, or HBK when he had the opportunities to. So, but this was, one of the few times that the torch really, honestly got passed. So, and we've always known that, but for whatever reason, the way this is scored, the way this is discussed, everything that's got us to this point, and the fact that we saw a mini documentary of how awesome Hulk Hogan was in the middle of this documentary, I guess that heightens this more.
We're just trying to put a feeler out there to see if anybody wants to do a Hulk Hogan thing coming up.
Well, that's the thing to think about because we have Ric Flair, Andre the Giant.
Who's left?
Who's left?
Hulkster.
Hulkster. So, yeah. I think it does a great job of showing how amazing this was, and if it not, heightens it. So, I don't know how you felt about it.
No, I liked it a lot. I definitely agree.
I think it's the best part of the documentary in my book. It's right up there with the territory part. It's one of my favorites. But what they did to make that WrestleMania 3 match so mythical.
Yeah.
When it already has such a high.
Him just fucking with them all day.
Yeah, exactly. It heightens
I don't know.
It heightens it even more. I feel like than it already was.
Yeah.
It's the biggest event ever. We think of WrestleMania 3, even though WrestleMania in Dallas
beat it.
Yeah,
100,000.
Exactly. Allegedly.
Allegedly. So. I mean, there's 100,000 chairs in there. Somebody paid for them.
But at the same time, too, Pontiac Silverdome also allegedly.
Yeah.
So, take your pick. Yep. Is it bad? Is a fan of fake news? Really?
I don't believe it. I don't buy it.
I don't buy it. But something you're going to have to buy is how much pain Andre was in.
Man.
And passed away in Paris because of heart attack. And it was just so sad that Tim Lights was like, I wish I was there when he died.
Yeah, die alone in a hotel room by himself.
Which is how most wrestlers die.
Yeah.
That's probably
the ugly beast.
It's probably going to be my fate, all said and done. Especially since I'm transitioning into the world of stand-up comedy.
Yeah, it could be double-edged sword you're going on there.
I'm trying. Basically, my whole goal in life is to die alone in a hotel room.
Yep.
It's
the goal at this point.
That's obviously what I've been working towards.
Yep. This is it, kid.
A pro wrestler, working my way to a stand-up comedian. My path ends there. It's not going to be in a hospital bed when I'm 89 years old. It's going to be on the road when I'm 73.
And you give yourself a lot of credit there.
Well, I'm hoping to think because of stretching.
And the tea, that's what the tea.
The tea and the diet. I feel I'll be able to go out there. I'm not going to say it's going to be in a good hotel room.
I'm not saying I'm going to be good at 70. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying I'll be doing it.
I'll be there.
I'll be there. Which has kind of been my hallmark of my career.
He's there. He's not good, but he's here.
Yeah.
He's passable. Whelmed. He's whelmed.
But I think the most interesting part here, I want your opinion on it. When they talk about they go to Vince, and Vince basically said he has
what a fucking psychopath.
That's I want to take the facility to get rid of things that are negative very quickly.
If it hurts me, I forget about it. How do you live?
Fucking crazy person, right? That's not what fucking humans do.
That's not how any of this works.
That
was the most creepiest part of this whole documentary was him saying that.
Like that was like that. I felt like that was something that Vince said probably in hour 2 of this conversation with the documentary people, like when he just let his guard down just enough. Like they'd had him there that long, asking questions about the wrestling business and
he's
Andre,
tired.
and they're just trying, and he's tired, and he pulls back the facade just enough to see how fucking crazy.
God, it was so creepy.
Like.
What
I had
a
a weird
monster.
I had a weird interaction with somebody this past weekend, and I've been bothered by it for like a couple of days now, and kind of lost sleep over it. And it was the most minorest of things. I probably will never see that person ever again.
Yeah.
But I just had a weird occurrence with them, and I'm done. And that's just a human interaction and a communication point. You're talking about how you feel about an individual and where you left off your relationship with a man who made a lot of money for you and your family and helped build your brand.
And you even admitted that he held it against you that you kept going after he had to stop.
And you just forget about it.
Yeah. And then try to muster tears.
Oh, yeah, that mustering.
Unsuccessfully.
This is what I'm like. I have somebody putting together a documentary piece about me right now. This line right here is what I'm afraid I'm going to expose. Through all the interviewing that they're putting me through, I'm afraid a line like this is going to exist. And they're going to be like, hold on a minute now.
If all my friends die, I'll still be here to go on. Some bullshit like that.
It's like something that's...
Whoa! Man, Scott, we need to talk about some stuff. We need to reevaluate this friendship for a minute.
I only keep friends around who I feel I know I can beat. In what? At life.
Fucking name it. Oh, God. We'll go ahead and wrap it up right there.
Which, we wrap it up, and we ended on a point that I particularly like, where they talk about Andre the Giant is like David Crockett, William Wallace. These are all people who exist in the world, but like their history has become so mythical.
Yeah,
like
their story has become bigger than who they really were.
Yeah, and like every story about them becomes overly exaggerated, but it's still
106 beers.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's the sense of that he's bigger than life. Tall tales, in fact.
Two hearts, 2 rows of teeth.
And
believed it
wholeheartedly. And of course Ric Flair would believe it.
Of course he would.
Especially since his father was a doctor. He could just call his father and be like, is it possible for someone to have 2 hearts? No, fuck off.
No, who is this again? Get out of here, Dave.
But yeah. Overall, what'd you think of it?
Loved it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Like, it's very similar to the A&E documentary they did on him years ago, back in the late 90s. Like, it's similar to that, but with better production value.
Yeah. But that HBO money behind it.
Yeah. You got an extra half an hour. It looks slick. I feel like the choices they made for B-roll footage on everything was great. Pictures and unearthed some stuff that I'd never seen before, which is kind of saying something.
Those were the photos and like the way they remastered some of the video. I thought was fucking fantastic.
Yeah, like if you want to get a sense of who Andre the Giant is, I think this is exactly it. Especially if you never saw that A&E documentary,
which I haven't.
You have it. So see, for me, it was like, this is basically the same thing.
Yeah.
But obviously, at the same time too, there's been no new history from Andre since that happened, obviously, and there's been no new stories unearthed about him. And also, too, like, keep in mind, I get locked in a hotel room with old-timey wrestlers for the last decade, and if Andre the Giant comes up, I've heard just about every different story, especially surprised that they didn't cover Bad News Brown.
Man, I wish.
Shit on.
Especially in the fart scenes.
Especially when you have a section about farts. Why don't you talk about Bad News Allen getting shit on in Mexico?
maybe Bad News Brown has it like that bad. Like everybody's like, nope, fuck him.
Well, he's dead, so this is another person that would be able to talk shit about Hogan.
Man,
another person that could have fucking gave it to Hogan.
Man, I love Bad News.
Jesse Ventura, you're our only hope right
now.
Yeah,
please. You're the hero we don't deserve but need.
This is true. This is true. Anything else we need to discuss on this?
Not really. Quick passing. where they talked about his travels, like him actually having to travel as a person, really hit hard to me. Because even I'm obviously not 500 pounds and 6 or 7 foot tall, but still being a 300+ pound guy at 6 foot tall, that shit's very uncomfortable as is. I can only imagine how bad it is there.
Well, and
especially when there's not like the lavishing travel arrangements they have these days.
Well, and also too, let me put a little extra thing on top of that. Obviously, you said because you're a larger man, even with your size, it's difficult. And obviously, 500 pounds would be
another foot and some change, and
that. But also too, keep in mind he's basically a farm boy from France.
Yeah.
Me as a farm boy myself, I grew up in a town of 82 people, being thrusted into airports and lines and going to places like New York City or a town that is holding a WrestleMania and being crammed in with all these people. I feel uncomfortable, even at somebody of like me, just an average sized person. So you add on top of it your size already, but also to your background in the environment you grew up in. That's like even doubly worse. So I definitely connected with that. Yeah. But even in the sense of like you add on top of that you're 7'4", 500 pounds, that's a whole different complexity to it as well.
Yeah.
So
elevators must have been fucking terrifying.
It just
that's I kept thinking about elevators the whole time, just like, how do you do it? Because I don't like elevators now.
I was thinking about hotel room beds.
Yeah.
That like because you're not be able to sleep properly.
Yeah. And like I guess you'd have to get like a 2-bed room and then push the 2 beds together.
Yeah, that'd be the only way you'd be able to do it.
Yeah.
There's no other way, and then shower.
Yeah, that'd be next to impossible. When they were talking about like him on the plane, he couldn't use the bathroom; he had to shit in a bucket.
Yeah, which that's gotta be. I mean, even though he probably had very little shame.
Yeah, it definitely had to be degrading in some form.
Yeah, it's got to be a little bit degrading.
Like after everybody's done laughing about it, you're still like, but now I actually have to go shit in this bucket.
Yeah, and that's where that line of they make things for deaf people, people, crippled people, but they don't make things for big people.
Yeah,
that makes that line even sadder.
Yeah, no
when
shit.
You think about it that way. So there's a real sadness to this. Which was I think the difference between this and the A&E documentary was you get to sense the darkness.
Yeah,
and I think we get to tap into that. And we wish we would have got. I think I would have liked to delve into that a little bit more. And they talk about him knowing he was going to die, but fuck, man, like he lived his life then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If anything, the fact that he knew he was going to go and he wasn't going to live long, and the fact that he lived the life the way he did, like, oh no, that's a happier story.
Yeah.
There's no sadness there. Even though they tried to force us and make that sad, like, oh, he's never lived that. Like, well, he's fucking living the life he wants.
He's living a couple lives right now.
But that's the thing of like him dealing with those issues and not living the life he wants. That's the sadder part of it.
Yeah.
That's where I think you need to dump if you want to make people feel sad at a point, is dump all your sadness into that. Because you can't fix that. Death will fix that problem. Yeah. And he's okay with that. So like that's my only thing with that. But I think it's good. It's great. I think you're going to have a touch stamp on who Andre the Giant is forever. People will be able to look at this, and I think you'll get a full sense of who he is. So, real happy with it.
Very.
But, Zane, you got anything coming up? Like I said, we're going to try and get this up tomorrow.
So if it comes up tomorrow, making this Thursday, tomorrow night I'm in Hubert, North Carolina for PWF, which will also have Caleb Conley on it. Then Saturday, I'm doing the AML Rising Star Show, where I'm wrestling Malachi Matthews and the party starter, Mac.
This Friday, I will actually be doing comedy at the Public Library in Uptown Charlotte.
There you go.
And then I will be taking a sabbatical from everything this weekend.
Ooh, good for you.
Well, I've got... next weekend I have Northeast Wrestling, and then I have to hurry back and do PWX on a Sunday on April 22nd. So I basically have to be in Bethany, Connecticut, April 21st, and then PWX in Gastonia on April 22nd. And I'm not 100% sure if I'm being flown to the said location. So there might be a
all-night drive-a-thon.
You
drive your truck into the armory again.
Yeah, it may end up being that. So we don't know. And then, of course, as soon as I get back, I have a couple comedy shows, but most specifically, I will have to pack up and hit the road where I will be gracefully...
Gacefully?
I will be gracefully traveling the country. I actually will be in Kansas City for a couple of days. I will be wrestling for NWL in Kansas City, Kansas, April 27th, I believe. And then, of course, I will be in Memphis that following Sunday. Then I will be in Huntsville, Alabama that Monday. Then Cookeville, Tennessee, May the 1st, I believe. Then May the 2nd, I will be at Rockstar Pro. May the 3rd, I will be delivering some patterning and doing open mics in Chicago. Then May the 4th, I will be trying to recover from all of that. Just in time for Pro Wrestling Revolver, where I'll be wrestling Tommy Dreamer on May the 5th. And then I can't dilly-dally with that, because I got to hurry up and get to Indianapolis the next day and do Rocket Ship Comedy Showcase. And then the next day, I will be doing comedy in Nashville at Bobby's Idle Hour in Nashville, Tennessee. And then back home after that. So, we're going to have to get some podcasts in the bank.
Yep. So or take a sabbatical here. Season 1, under wraps.
Yeah, let people know that we worked very hard to get this podcast out on a timely basis. And this podcast might be getting out a couple hours late, but I think we might be able to get it in.
We finished early today.
Yeah, I did finish early today. I think Don can get it done in a timely fashion. But you might be listening to this on a Friday, and we're sorry about that. But we're very busy people, and I'm going to try very hard to get some in the bank. But if there's a dead week in there,
sorry, brother.
Guess what? I might be dead.
Yeah. It might not just be the weekend.
Yeah.
I might just be in life.
I might, in a hotel room somewhere. I'll be staying in a lot of them at the end of the month. So, but before we get out of here, we got to let everybody know that we still, on iTunes, Donut, 1978 is still the newest review, where he goes, how did these two get a podcast?
He tweeted us.
Yes, and said, I'm Donut, 1978.
Yep. As if his name didn't give it away.
Exactly. But he's a guy who
loves the show.
Loves the show, also loves my tweets. He likes every one of my tweets.
You can't tell, though, by his review. So don't let that review fool you.
Yeah. This goes to show that any two idiots with a mic can have a podcast. That's what you said about me, but hey, I appreciate the likes. But also, too, make sure you like me on Instagram, too. The people who like me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, you guys are the true heroes out there. But...
What?
We did get a spike in our Stitcher reviews, my
Wait
friend.
a minute.
Yes, we did. We actually got 3 new reviews.
Whoa!
3 new reviews. Well, keep in mind, we had 1 forever. Now we're at 4. So,
I mean, what did we do? Was that a really good match we had on the High Spot Super Show?
Yeah, I guess that was the thing. It was the tipping point for everybody.
Mm-hmm. We're really going to turn this year around now, guys.
Yeah, we're just going to have some more 10-person tags.
Yeah.
But
against girls only.
Only girls. But we have to mention the people that left reviews. It is Real Man's Man. He actually said KO8 Wrestling is KO Great Wrestling.
Okay.
Because obviously KO8 was the last people, so maybe they're affiliated. And then the next review is Crush Gals, who actually... I think,
whoa, hold on.
I believe... I know she was in Dayton, but I think I saw her down at WrestleCon this past weekend and stuff like that. She came up and said hi. She talked about how we're the Wrestling Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Well, that's a good one. Put that on a shirt.
Yeah, she likes the fact that we smarten people up with our stories. So I hope you enjoyed that story about me repossessing 8mm wrestling footage. That story's not out there. That's interesting. But you also left a request and said we should do the Raw Bowl sometime.
You got it, kid.
But the review that we will be reading until somebody knocks it off on Stitcher is from Ratlin.
Ratland.
Or Ratlin.
Whatever.
There's an Ritalin, but like Ratlin just sounds better.
Yeah, Ritlin.
Ritlin. I believe that might be what it is. But he basically says, right alongside OSW review.
Must be from OSW Review.
Listen, like I said, you can put a plug in these reviews and we'll read it every single week. Right alongside WLOSW Review, Jake and Zane understand how to joke about a niche interest in this is funny to anyone. Well, that's debatable.
Is that a review? You guys sure are funny about dumb shit nobody care about.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. But it's 5
but
stars.
Hey man, thanks.
It's 5.
Well, that's all that matters.
It's 5 stars. You could wish death upon our mothers, and if you are the most recent review, we will read it on air until you are knocked off. And that's just how we do business here at How Did This Get Booked. And as always, we do business by, if we've made a mistake, let us know. Yell at us. Tell us we made a mistake. And make sure you tweet me at ManScoutManning or email me at jake@sslshow.com. Make sure you log on to howdidthisgetbooked.com. That's where actually my own personal merch is there. Also, you can get How Did This Get Booked t-shirts. And actually, I'm going to have some new Man Scout t-shirts going to be putting up there in the next couple of weeks or so make sure you check that out. And as always, make sure you subscribe to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud, and wherever podcasts are available. This has been another edition of How Did This Get Booked?
Woo!